Om Sang Saraswati Namaha Namaste. Namaste, everybody. Do you know, we started this conversation with the discussion of Kamkala, the 3's. All the 3's. And thereafter we started talking about the 4's. And we had the 4 Vedas and the 4 divisions of the Vedas. And then we had the Chaturvarga, the 4 aspirations of manifested existence. And then we had the 4 divisions of each of the 4 Vedas, which was the Samhita, which are the hymns, and the Brahmana, which was the priestly code, or the Puja Padotis, and the Aranyak, which was the stories, and the Upanishad, which was the philosophy. And we talked about the various divisions of 3 and the various divisions of 4. Now, I'd like to talk about Shiva's 5 faces. And remember them, they're Sattva Jnana, Bhamadeva, Aghora, Tatpurush, and Isana. So Sattva Jnana is constantly giving birth to truth and to true existence. Bhamadeva is the beautiful God who is beloved, or he is the God of love, or he is the lover of all the gods. Aghora, he was free from fear. Knows no fear. Tatpurush, that full, complete, perfect consciousness. And Ishana, the seer of all, Ish, to see, to perceive, or the ruler of all, because he rules through perception. Oh, these are the 5. Now, Hridayadi Nash, that's also called Sharanganyas, and that's the one where we touch the 6 points of the body. We go Om Ram Hridayaya Nama, Om Ma Shiro Se Swaha, Om Ram Hridayaya Nama, Om Ring Shiro Se Swaha, Om Rum Shikaya Gibasha, Om Ring Kabachaya Kum, Om Ram Netra Trayaya Basha, Om Ra Karoto Kapishta Bangastraya Om. And we touch the heart, and the top of the head, the back of the head. We cross both arms, touch the 3 eyes, roll hand over hand, forwards and backwards, and clap. And this is the Sharanganyas, the 6 points of the body, where we establish the Mool Mantra in every puja. We touch the 6 points and make nyas of the Mool Mantra. Well, there are 7 rivers that run through the land where the light of wisdom always shines. Gangecha Chamanacheva, Godavari, Saraswati, Narmade, Sindhu, Kaveri, Jalismin, Sanidikarum. And this is the land of the 7 rivers. This body of ours is the land where the 7 rivers always flow. And we always say that the Ganga is the Ira, and the Pingala is the Jamuna, and the 5 senses are the other 5 rivers. And now all the rivers are bringing the outside world in and bringing the inside world out. And this is the land of the 7 rivers. It's also called Bharatvash. Bharat means the land where the light of wisdom always shines. It was renamed not too long ago as India. But in Sanskrit, it's still called Bharat. The land where the light of wisdom always shines. The divine fire has 7 tongues. Kali, which is black. Karali, which is increasing or formidable. Manojwa, which is swift as thought. Sulohita, the excellent shine. Dhumrabarna, the purple. Ugra, or Sphulingini, fearful. and pradipta, which gives light. Now there are 8 forms of siddhi, the attainments of spiritual powers, and they are called anima, lagima, mahima, prapti, prakamya, isritva, boshitva, and sarvanyatva. These are the 8 siddhi, ashta siddhi no didi ketasa. Remember, Hanuman had all 8 siddhis. Anima is making yourself small, musika saman, the rupa dori lanka. Hanuman became as small as, we call it like a musika, like a macha, like a mosquito. But he was really smaller than that. He could become as small like an onion, just one atom. Lagima, being light, he could just float up into the atmosphere, make himself so light that you could lift with the slightest effort. Shrima has the siddhi of lagima. I remember in my younger days, when I was a little bit stronger than I am now, I could make arati with Shrima. She weighed 60 pounds and I was pretty strong, and I could pick her up and just make arati, waving the Sriman from the gods. You remember that? That was fun. That was a great arati. Mahima is being great, expansive, fat as a Swami, as big as you can imagine. Prapti is obtaining things, or obtaining your desire, or fulfilling your desire. You get whatever you reach out towards. So that's a prapti siddhi. Wherever you reach, there it is fulfilled. Prakamya is sufficiency, and it means self-sufficiency and satisfaction. I've got sufficient. I don't need more. Or whatever I reach out towards, it's sufficient to me. Whatever is added unto us is sufficient. So prakamya, all the desires are just in this state of, it's like santoshima. Om santoshima yagibid make, santosh pradayin yagidim yagi, tanno santoshima. There's a feeling of santosh, of complete satisfaction, of sufficiency. Whatever I reach out, all the desires are just in balance, in harmony, fulfilled. Ishitwa is a feeling of rulership. I rule my destiny. I've got a plan. I'm executing according to my plan. I'm moving with my sankalpa. I'm in control of my destiny. I haven't relinquished control of my life to the whims of others. Ishitwa. And boshitwa is the ability to control others. And that doesn't mean manipulate. It means control them as Srima controls, by giving a little more rice pudding, or by giving a little more love. And we are inspired by her example.
Giving egg salad.
Even egg salad, yeah, a little more egg salad, or whatever it happens to be the dish du jour. In that way, she inspires us to participate. She has a bashikaran. She controls us and brings us into harmony with her agenda just by her very presence. Just her loving presence creates this vibration which inspires all of us to desire to participate in wherever it is she wants to go. It's not like Boshikar, I'm binding you in chains, and I'm going to hold the stick and the whip, and I'm going to make you to fulfill my desire. No, I set you free. And I empower you. And I'm giving you all the tools that you will need. Where do you want to go? I think you'd want to follow that kind of agenda. If the agenda is, all of us naturally gravitate to the source of our nourishment. Wherever we get the greatest nourishment, there we want to camp out for as long as they will have us. That's where we want to stay, because we're getting nourished. We're getting empowered. We're getting revitalized. We're gathering the tools and the energy with which we can go out and confront the rest of creation. So certainly, I want to plug my finger into the socket and stay in that space as long as possible. Voshitva, or we call it in Chandi, Voshikaran. And Sarvanyatva, there's omniscience, there's an all-knowingness, there's a wisdom that permeates. When we speak, she sees the essence of the issue right away. And no matter how long is the story that we like to tell, she can go right to the thesis in a moment. She is so excellent. I get letters and letters and letters, and some of them are very long, and I just labor over studying every word of every letter. And Ma comes in and she can spot immediately, what's the question? And she goes for the jugular every time. She just says, I'm going to answer the question. I don't have time to read the treatise on the story of me. Where's the question? I can spot it. And so she's got that sarvanyatva, that omniscience, that understanding. She can issue spotting. We called it in law school. You got the ability to spot the issue, to define the issues at law and at fact. And then you could segregate those issues and deal with them methodically, according to definitions. So these are the 8 types of siddhi. Anima being small, Ladima being light, Mahima being great, and great meant in size as well as greatness. Prapti, being able to accomplish your objectives or fulfill your desire. Prakamya, be self-sufficient or have this sense of sufficiency, or santosh, this sense of satisfaction. Ishitva, rulership, I rule my destiny, I've defined my actions, I've defined my direction, I've defined my path, I'm going according to the book. And I have a little bit of room for improvisation, but I know where I'm going. And I'm going to have fun getting there. It's a good trip. Voshitva, being able to inspire, motivate others. And Sarvanyatva, knowing where you stand and knowing what's next. Being able to understand what are the issues that are confronting us and how do we deal with them. And there are 8 forms of Shakti. And these are the Ashtashaktibhyo. Brahmi, Narayani, Maheshwari, Chamunda, Kumari, Aparajita, Varati, and Narasimhi. And these are Brahmi is the creative energy, and Narayani is the exposer of consciousness. Maheshwari, the energy of the seer of all. Chamunda, the slayer of passion and meanness. Kaumari, the ever pure one. Aparajita, the unconquerable. Varati, the boar of sacrifice. She just drills that sense of sacrifice. The greatness comes from sacrifice. When we make renunciation of our selfish desire, that is spirituality. And the power of spirituality is to renounce our selfish desire and to give our best for the benefit of others. And Narasimhi is that man-lion. It's dignifying courage. He's got that courageous fortitude. He moves forward like a lion with the intelligence of a human being. So these are the 8 forms of Shakti. Now there are 9 forms of Durga. And remember, Durgam means confusion, obstacles. And Durga takes away the Durgam. So Pratamang Shedaputri Cha, Tritiyam brahmacharini. This is from the Devi Kavach of the Chandi. Tritiyam chandrakanteti. Kushmandeti chaturtakam. Panchamang skandamateti. Shashtam katyayani cha. Saptamam kalaradriti. Mahagoriti chashtamam. Navamam siddhi datricha. Navadurga prakirtita. And they are united in succession, one after another, defined and proclaimed by Brahma from the dawn of creation. The first is the goddess of inspiration, Shailaputri. She's the daughter of the mountain Parvati. She's the daughter of Himalayas, where all the sadhus go in order to practice tapasya. She is the goddess who presides over inspiration. Just like our Vaishnavachar. She is Shailaputri, the goddess of inspiration. Second is Brahmacharini, she who moves with God. She is the goddess of sacred study. We cultivate our inspiration with knowledge. Anything that you love, you start to study. You fall in love with a beautiful girl, you say, where would she like to go? What kind of flowers can I bring her? What kind of sweets will she eat? What kind of movie will she like? What kind of restaurant can I bring her to? I'm going to cultivate as much knowledge about the beings that I love that's possible for me. And Tritiyam Chandaganteti, the delight of practice. Ring that bell. Ring that bell, Chandraganta. She's got the ganta of devotion, the delight of practicing. She's got the bell of devotion and it's ringing. The bells are ringing for me and my gal. Kushmandeti Chaturtakam, the goddess of purifying austerity. She's like the anda, the egg which is being heated. What do you do when you boil an egg? You purify it. And you boil it hard and all the purities are gone. And it solidifies and it becomes an object of extreme nourishment. Total purity. So we're adding heat. Kushmanda. She's adding heat. She's purifying austerities. Panchamang Skandamate. She's the mother of Skanda. That's the mother of Kartikeya. She's the mother who nurtures divinity. Katyayani Shashtamam. And Katyayani is the goddess who is ever pure. She has no mistake. We took our inspiration, we cultivated the knowledge, we started to practice, we refined the practice and did the purifying austerities. We nurtured the divinity and we became completely free from impurities. Saptamam Kalaratriti, the goddess of the dark night of overcoming egoism or egotism or duality. All that duality is left behind. There's only unity in my every action. I'm leaving all these, we call them pichantang. In Bengali, wonderful term, you can't replicate it in any other language. Pichantang, it grabs you by the neck and hey, meditator, you want to think about God? Come on over here. She takes away that dark night of egotism, that darkness which keeps my mind from paying purely focused attention. And we overcome that darkness. And Mahagoriti Chashtamam. And 8th is the goddess of the great radiant light. How do you get rid of the darkness? You illuminate the light. Navaman Siddhi Datricha. And the 9th is the grantor of perfection. Navadurga Prakirtita. And these are the 9, they are known, they are famous. Prakirtita. They are the 9 Durgas, the 9 forms of Durga. You take the inspiration, you cultivate the knowledge, you begin to practice. You refine the practice, you make it completely free of air and pure. You give up the darkness. You nurture the divinity within. You give up the darkness of duality. You become one with the action, illuminating light. It doesn't matter if you're chopping wood or carrying water, if you're sweeping the floor or putting the salt back in its container. You have complete unity with every action. There is total efficiency. Total efficiency. We're united in action, and it's an expression. Every action is an expression of the great radiant light. And Navadang Siddhidatricha, the goddess who grants perfection. You can attain that perfection through every form of karma, yoga that you perform. And that's the 9 Durgas. And there are 9 planets, the Navagraha. And we start with Surya, Jabakusum Sankacham, Kasyape Yam Adutim, Tamoring Sarva Papagnam, Pranatosmi Dibakara, Om Ring Ring, Suryaya Namaha. And the sun, he indicates the light of wisdom. He dispels the ignorance. He illuminates the darkness. He calls all sentient beings to wake up and do your karma in this world to make this world a better place. The day is just beginning. Look at the light of wisdom first and wake up in the radiance of wisdom.
Swami, why we try this only 9 planets?
Why these 9 planets?
Yeah, why we try that 9?
Well, actually, I didn't choose them, so why did you choose them? I can't tell why you chose them. But I can tell that astrologically, by definition, and we are, you'll excuse us, we're in the middle of translating a treatise on the 9 planets from Bengali and Sanskrit into English, as best as we can. And it does tell the basic influence of each of these 9 planets on our lives. This is what we're talking about in this new book that we're writing. However, we're giving a little bit of the background information right now, and the sun is the light of wisdom. And these 9 planets have a place in our lives. They have a place in the cosmos, on the macrocosm, and in the microcosm. They influence me. They're within me. They're within every being of the universe. All beings born are born with certain gravitational pools created by one planet or another. And we can understand when the moon is closer, the waters rise higher, and when the moon is farther away, the waters rise lower. And that's true outside with the oceans and the waves and the waves on the sea, and it's true within my body and each of our bodies. Our bodies are made of 80% water, and we will have an attraction because of the positions of the planets. They will attract us. However, our Chandipat says in the 12th chapter, if you chant the Chandi, your willpower is stronger than any attraction of the sun or the moon or the other planets. Doesn't matter where they want to pull you, you will go where you define. It's your journey. So the first of the 9 planets is Surya, the light of wisdom, the sun, the dispeller of ignorance. He's also the warmth of devotion, the warmth of love. So he gives up radiance. And you know, there's something funny. Even if you just sit outside in the sun, your body gets warmed outside and inside just by the rays of the sun. He changes things outside and inside. The second is the moon. We call him Som, but he's the emblem of devotion. Shiva wears him in his hair, Durga wears him in her hair, Sri Ma wears him in her hair. In fact, she can't get that moon out of her hair. She's all tangled up with the moon because she's so full of devotion all the time. The moon is attracting the waters, and the waters are rushing towards that devotion. And you can feel how the juices flow when the planets are pulling them in one direction or another. Mangal is Mars. He's the bearer of welfare. He's also the masculine aspect. He's a warrior. Oh, we'll get into the details of the planets later. Buddha is Mercury. He's the emblem of intelligence. He presides over communication. He has, if you're going to give a speech, if you're going to give an interview, you want to do Buddha's puja before you go.
Hey, you should know before.
Oh, I didn't know.
Brihaspati is Jupiter, and he's the guru of the gods. He presides over intelligence, and he or she, as the guru may be, will give us direction and give us values and give us a value system of life. Shukra is Venus, and Shukra is the emblem of love and attachment. Shani, or Shanishchar, is Saturn, and he is the emblem of control, of discipline. He has many positive and negative qualities depending on his relationship to the individual and to the other planets that are near to him. So without Shani, we have no discipline. And we just wander digging many shallow wells, never finding what we're looking for. And with Shani in control, we become very focused, we become disciplined, we make a sankalpa, and we function according to sankalpa. Rahu is often called the north node, Ketu the south node. I don't really know what nodes are. They say the moon has nodes, and so do toads have nodes, and also the hair has nodes. But also, we also call them, they are very much akin to Uranus and Pluto. Regardless, Rahu commands direction, and Ketu presents obstacles. So we have these 9 planets that are striving for harmony in our chart, in our hand, in the lines on our hands, in the planets on our hands, in our foreheads, in our feet, in our heart, in our brain, and in the Chandi. They are all of no consequence. We can get rid of them all in an instant just by focusing pure devotion to the path of our beloved. There are 10 Mahavidyas. These are great branches of knowledge. They preside, each one of these goddesses presides over a unique branch of knowledge. Kali, Bagla, Chinnamasta, Bhuvaneshwari, Martangi, Shorashi, Dhumavati, Tripura Sundari, Tara, and Vairavi. And Kali takes away the darkness.
Swami,
Haji.
why you gave Kamala?
Kamala is Lakshmi, and she's also Tripura Sundari. Kali takes away the darkness, and she is beyond time, because Kal means time, and Kali takes away the Kal. And Kal means darkness, and Kali takes all the darkness away, and that's why she's dark herself. Bagala stops all motion at the appropriate time. Hang on, reset, stop the motion. Chinnamasta demonstrates the courage to make sacrifice. Bhuvaneshwari is the supreme, the Ishwari of Bhuva, of the manifested existence. Martangi is the measurement of all the limbs of creation. She is the Mata of the Anga. Matangi is the measurement of all the limbs of creation. She's also the mind of all the limbs of creation. She's also the expressive power of all the limbs of creation. Shorashi unites the 16 syllables of Shiva and Shakti. That's Khadi Vidya. Remember, Khadi is 15 syllables, Hadi is 15 syllables, Kahadi is 16 syllables, Kaha, E, La, Rim, Ha, Sa, Ka, Ha, La, Rim, Sa, Ka, La, Rim, all 16. So Shorashi is the Kahadi Vidya, the union of Shiva and Shakti on the 3 levels in the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. We'll talk a little bit more about her a little later. Dhumavati demonstrates renunciation, and she removes all frustration. Tripura Sundari is the beauty of all the 3's, and she's the harmony of all the 3's, and she's the Sundari of Tripur. And Tripur means the 3 cities. And Tripur, all the 3's. Wherever you'll find the 3's, you'll find Tripura Sundari. She lives in the Satyalok, in the Satya Rajatama. She lives in the gross body, subtle body, causal body. She lives in all the 3's, and she's the beautiful one that brings them all into harmony. And Tara is the illuminator of all attitudes. And Bhairavi is free from any kind of fear. So these are the Dashmahavidyas. So we've worked our way up from the 1, that Shabda Brahma, that Bindu, to the 3, which was all the 3's Kamakala, to the 4's, which were the 4 Vedas and the Chaturvarga, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, to the 5's like Sadyojata, Bhamadeva, Aghora, Tatpurusha, Ishana, the 5 faces of Shiva, to the 6 centers of energy in the body, to the 7 levels of consciousness, to the 8 forms of Siddhi, to the 9 forms of Durga, to the 10 directions. Now let's stop here and see if there are any questions. Yes, please.
You said that Tara is the illuminator of all attitudes. I've heard that she also is associated with Rohini. Is that the case or no?
No.
We have a question from Pushpa.
Namaste, Pushpama.
There are a number of people who blame anything bad that happens on the planets. Others blame everything on the Vastu of where they reside. I tend not to let such things direct my life. Am I missing something by not buying into this? Should we all have astrologers and make decisions based on the planets?
That's a great idea, Pushpa. We should all hire the astrologers to run the world. No, I don't think you're missing much. Excuse me. But I think astrology is important for us to know which puja to do at which time for which reasons. And how do we propitiate all the forces of the heavens in order to bring our lives into harmony? I don't think you need an astrologer on retainer to consult every time you make a mistake. It's not the astrologer's fault. It's not the planet's fault. We all came to this manifested existence with karma. We will enjoy the fruit of our karma, whether you like it or not. You're going to enjoy it. So you might as well get to like it. Now, the challenge before us is how do we let all those arrows of the prarabdha karma land without our shooting off new arrows to make new karma for ourselves? I think this is the greater challenge than hiring an astrologer to say, what's going to happen to me next? I know I'm going to get the fruit of my karma. If I sow good seeds, let me get good fruits. And if I don't sow any seeds, let me go hungry. How can I bemoan my hunger because I didn't get any fruit from not sowing any seeds? Or wasting my time sowing fallow seeds on the rocks and not nurturing them and not caring for them and not taking... Remember, the sower went out to sow his seeds, and some fell on the rocks, and some fell on the hard ground, and some fell on the fertile soil. And those brought fruit in abundance. Well, if I know the kind of seed that I'm sowing, I probably have a good idea about the kind of fruit I will be harvesting. Now, let's content ourselves with the definition of kripa. Kripa is the grace of the gods. And kripa is not just some unwarranted benefit that falls upon little unworthy me. Kri means do, pa means get. Kripa means as you sow, so shall you reap. You're gonna enjoy the fruit of your karma whether you like it or not. So better make a wise choice and make the best karma that you could possibly make. I don't believe you're missing anything, Pushpa, by not consulting an astrologer for every decision you need to make in your life. You will be better to consult your other advisors, and astrologers may be one of your advisory committee. But I think your doctor, your lawyer, and your stockbroker will be more important. Yes, please.
If we chant the chandi and our heart changes, does our forehead and palm also change?
Yes. Yes, they do change. You'll see the lines on your palms changing. They will change, and we'll do a class on astrology probably when we finish our book. We'll include a section on palmistry too. So, but you will see the evolution of the lines in the palms of your hands changing with the evolution of your value system and the evolution of your goals, the evolution of your aspirations, the evolution of your personality, your efficiency. All of that will change in your body, your mind, and your soul. It won't go unnoticed. Yes, please.
We have a question from Elijah in Washington.
Namaste, Elijah Baba.
How do the 9 Durgas, and in fact all the gods and goddesses, manifest within us? For example, when we have a feeling of great inspiration, are we receiving darshan of Shailaputri, or are we uncovering Shailaputri from within us?
Why do you care? She's there. What difference does it make? These are all semantical differences created for the poets. Now, sometimes the poet will say, Kundalini is sleeping in the Muladhara. I defy you to dissect any human being and find a snake coiled 2.5 times around a Shiva lingam in your butt. It's just not happening. But it's a poetic way of expressing Kundalini is sleeping. The other way that the philosopher could say is Kundalini never sleeps. But I have been sleeping, and I don't watch her. I don't look at her. I don't see the rise of the energy and the fall of the energy. I'm blind. My eyes are blind to see her. Please chase this darkness away. So that's another way to poetically express what's going on in this spiritual path. Is Shailaputri being uncovered, or is she waking us up, or am I having her darshan? All of them are admirable. Choose anyone that you feel is appropriate to your circumstance at that moment and enjoy the darshan of that inspiration.
Just a good blessing.
You got a blessing no matter what happened.
We have a question from Papia in Delaware.
Namaste, Papia.
Is the Siddhi Sarvagyatva the same as being 3 called Dashi?
Yes, it is. Omniscience means past, present, future. You can see it all. Do you know what? Just as when you climb the mountain, you look down into the valley, you can see everything going on in the valley, and you climb a higher mountain, you can see over that mountain into the next valley, and you climb to the highest mountain, you can see so many valleys and peaks and valleys all in front of you. You become empowered to perceive what's going on in each of the situations and circumstances of life. You become trikaldasi. You become a perceiver of the 3 times, past, present, and future. Of course, you know what you did in your past is what made your present. You know what you're doing today in your present is going to make your future. That is the other definition of trikaldasi. You see, past, present, and future. You know the system of cause and effect. And that also is important. That is meaning I can see. I'm taking control of my life. I'm making my plan according to my understanding of what I did is what made me what I am, and what I'm doing right now is going to make my future. No question about that. Yes, please.
We have a question from Julia in San Diego.
Namaste, Julia Ma.
I see that the 9 forms of Durga are the same as the Durga Puja 1 and the Kazakh Puja, but the 8 forms of energy aren't quite the same as the Durga Puja 2. Is there a reason for this? Any comments?
No. Probably the reason is inattentiveness of the translator. They're very close. They're very close. But I got one system of worship from one book. I got another system of worship from another book. I took one and put it into the one puja book, and the other and put it into the other puja book. They're all right. There's no wrong. There are so many. Do you know there are 51 Shakti Pittas? There are places where the body of, the limbs of Sati fell when Shiva was dancing with the body of Sati upon his shoulders. Now, there are 4 lists of the 51 Pittas. And the 4 lists don't quite agree. So then the Devi Bhagavatam, this is, maybe, let's say it's 500 AD. I wouldn't say that. I would say it's 300 BC, Devi Bhagavatam. But let's go with 500 AD. They got a chance to rectify the problem, so they made one list of 108 Shakti Pittas. And so that list continued, and it grew and it grew. And then, of course, those crazy people in the Devi Mandir came in another 2,000 years later, and they made the list of the Devi Mandir Shakti Pit in Napa, California. So that got added to the list as well. Now, which one of them is not a Shakti Pit? Everywhere you go, Julia, you'll ask, is this a Shakti Pit? And any pujari worth his salt is going to say, of course it is. This is the original Shakti Pit. The goddess took birth right from this yantra. Wherever I establish my yantra, there is the center of the universe. So it's not a question of which is correct and which is not. There are 4 Vaishnavas. There are 3 Deogas. There are 3 Nagdats. There are, oh my goodness, we could travel around India for years and years and years and never exhaust all the possibilities of visiting 11 Jyotirlingams. There are 3 Kashis. There's Gupta Kashi, Uttar Kashi, and Kashi. And they're all Pittas. They're all Jyotirlingams. They're all the right place. So please forgive me if all of my lists don't quite reconcile. I didn't approach this as an accountant. I came as a scholar, trying to find which will work for us. So I took the definitions which were appropriate for our purposes.
We have a question from Shivani.
Namaste, Shivani Ma.
If inspiration is the first Durga, then what causes inspiration? How can we make ourselves fertile for inspiration to come?
You gotta turn yourself on. About that, don't leave it to anyone else to do for you. I'm giving you a little switch. Mom likes it in the center. I put it on the side. There's a little switch that puts you in the inspiration mode. And turn on your switch whenever you go into an environment in which there's a possibility that someone may be inspiring. Now, go with an open mind. Get rid of all your old attitudes. Remember the Zen master who kept filling the teapot and filling the teacup until it kept overflowing and spilling on the table and on the floor and on the ground. And finally the disciple said, "Enough! Stop! No more will go in." And the guru said, just like this teacup, you are so full of your attitudes and opinions about everything. You are so full of all the knowledge that you have. No more will go in. First, empty your cup, and then we can fill it up. So, Shivani, if you want to turn on your switch, empty your cup, get rid of all your preconceived notions, get rid of all the ideas that you thought you knew what was right, what was best. I get so many emails every day. I've taken initiation from this guru and that guru, and I visited this place and that place, and I've done so much. I'd like to come and see you and Sri Ma at the Devi Mandir. I said, what for? You want me to audition for you to see if I can give you one more mantra? I've got books of thousands of mantras. What do you need with me? Shivani, empty your cup. Get yourself full of inspiration. Get yourself in the right mind. Assume an attitude of respect. Dress yourself with respect. Assume a comportment which is conducive to learning. Remember, the king and the businessman went to the rishi's ashram, and they went with humility and with respect, and they said, observing all the customs and congenialities for learning. They asked his permission and sat down in the presence and then asked their question.
We have a question from Kyle in Los Angeles.
Namaste, Kyle. Namaste, Samantha.
Namaste, Swamiji. Namaste, Sri Ma. I have heard some astrologers say that when one worships an Ishta Devata, worship of the planets is unnecessary. What is most efficacious?
Worship life and everything in it. If you got only a little bit of time, then worship only a little bit. But if you want to worship all of it, then worship as much as you can. So, is it unnecessary? No, it's not unnecessary. It's always necessary to worship as much as you can worship and continually expand that worship, Kyle. You want to worship your Ishta, for sure. That's your chosen form of divinity. But then you want to worship the entourage of the Ishta. Or, when you invite Sri Ma to dinner, you better set a place for Swamiji. And there's going to be a driver, and there's going to be a musician, and there's going to be someone who can sing, and there'll be a lot of people. The entourage of the Ishta is also worshipped. And if you worship your Ishta, you can worship your the 9 planets as well. As much time and mind and energy as you have for worship, then do that much worship. Now your worship will expand and contract. It breathes. You inhale and it exhales, and it gets bigger and it gets smaller according to the dictates of time and mind and all the stuff that you have to do in your life. You can't have one puja only. Monday through Friday, you got to get up and go to the office, banker's hours. Though they may be, you have to get enough sleep, and you have time for a shorter puja, where on Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to sing the entire Chandi and do the cosmic puja as well. You'll find that there are times in your life, Navaratri comes along, I have nothing to do outside. Everything is going on inside. I'm going to do the puja, and I'm going to do the pot, and I'm going to do the homa, and I'll study a class. As much as you can do according to the dictates of time and place and circumstance, that's the minimum that you want to do. That's what's necessary to do, to make the habit of worshiping. And if you can make the habit of worshiping at the altar, Kyle, you can make the habit of worshiping with your partner. And if you can make the habit of worshiping with your partner in the temple, you can make the habit of worshiping with your partner in the kitchen. And pretty soon, everything you guys do together is a form of worship. You're just demonstrating your respect to each other, your love, your generosity, your surrender, your appreciation of each other through the actions that you perform. Now that's puja. Not just to put the flowers on the altar, but to put the flowers at the feet of your beloved. To make everything that you offer to your family an offering of your love. That's the puja. All of life is puja. Pu means punya, the highest merit. Ja means japa, to give birth. Puja is what we do to give birth to the highest merit, the privilege of sitting in the presence of God, serving the goddess. By chopping wood and carrying water. Could be by putting flowers at the feet of a statue. Could be by putting flowers or garlands around the neck of your beloved. It could be you're going to express that sense of privilege through every activity you perform.
Why is chopping wood?
Mom, in English, chopping wood and carrying water is equivalent to bibinyadi karma.
Okay.
Okay?
There is no wood.
We live in the woods. Papia tumi buji del. Amaki me per patio do de tumi buji de vida Maya Junior. Kata a joltu de kimonian. Sahajiko.
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Of the Siddhis, is becoming small and becoming big, I mean, is that physical? Does my awareness become very small?
Yes, your awareness becomes very small, your body becomes very small, your mind becomes very small, your thoughts become very small, your ego becomes very small. Anima, Lagima, Mahima, you become very big. Aham Brahmashmi, Shiva, Mahima, Anima, Masak Saman. I'm just so insignificant. Just like a little creature, a little insect. And that's what I am, really, if I look at myself from the perception, look at me from outer space. And, I mean, you can't even find where is Napa, let alone where's the Devi Mandir in Napa. Where is that little Swamiji? He's sitting on a throne, shouting into a microphone. How insignificant could this little being be if you look at it from the perspective of the history of civilization, or look at me from outer space? Anima, as small as you can imagine. Now remember, we were talking about the definitions of time, and we said the smallest definition of time was kalkasht. And kalkasht was the time that it took for a pin to pierce through the film that covers the leaf of a lotus. Please take your lotus leaf and peel back the very, very, very thin, delicate film that covers the lotus leaf, and then take the needle and pierce. That film is kalkasht, the smallest amount of time. Now we called an anu, the atom, which is invisible to the naked eye, the smallest particle that we could possibly conceive. Because we know there are protons and neutrons and electrons and quarks. and all those other subatomic particles revolving around that nucleus, but we can't even imagine them. I mean, we can have great drawings by Da Vinci and others to symbolize, but that's not really picturing what is that, a quark. What is this? Or what did they call that? The boson. Huh?
Higgs boson.
A Higgs boson. Huh? Which is even smaller still. And try to conceive that with your naked eye. So these are subatomic particles. And if you look at the Earth from outer space, this Swamiji is even smaller than that. Now that's anima. Now who's looking at him? That's Shiva Aham. That's Mahima. The guy who's seeing that tiny little Swami on the earth, who is more subtle than the subtlest from that distance. Yes, please.
We have another question from Julia.
Okay, Julia.
Can you tell us about the Sanskrit prayer you add in chapter 13 in the Chandi? Does it correlate to the 9 forms of Durga or something?
The Sanskrit prayer, Mother adds the Shanti Swasti Vacha, Shanta Dyo Shanta Prithivi. And I add a prayer which is not from any scripture, it is my own prayer. So that does not come from Sanskrit. I've given it in English. And I have a number of prayers that come in English. There are translations of Sanskrit prayers, but they are not literal translations. So I left out the grammar. And I say, Shuddh, Pavitra, Chirastha, Yakudata, Ananya, Bhakti. And Shuddh means pure. Pavitra means even more pure. Chirastha, infinite. Yakudata, with the greatest and deepest sincerity. Ananya, unending. Bhakti, devotion. And that's the purpose of my prayer. Every time. That's why I pray. The more I ask for devotion, the greater the devotion rises within me. The more I feel the devotion, the less I am attached to the world. The less I'm attached to the world, the less I move from my center of peace. No matter what the circumstances are going around us, I'm privileged to stay in a place that I like the most. With Mother in my heart and a kavach on top. A protective armor which does not allow anyone else's anything to permeate my armor, just knock me off my center. And that's why I continually pray for devotion. I pray for any other thing and it's transient. It will not stay with you. Even the cloud rises to cover the light of wisdom. The wisdom is still present, but you can't see it because of the cloud. That's the story of Vritrashur. So I pray for pure devotion, Julia. Unending devotion. So that I can be the same all the time in every circumstance, and I just want to be a lover. I just want to maintain that love affair all the time, in every circumstance, no matter what's going on around me. That's my prayer. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste.
Thank you.